Choo-Choo Charles is fantastic. It's fun, well made, and fairly scary, and beautiful. The game, not the train. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Choo-Choo Charles is an indie horror game where you navigate an open world island map, upgrade an old mining train, and hunt down an evil man eating spider train, which is a sentence that I never thought would come out of my mouth. I was watching this game's development for a little over a year when the release date trailer was released. The developer had been releasing devlogs of the game since the release of the teaser, and I was hooked on the concept. Now, I watched the devlog because I was interested in the game, but I did not think I would actually get to play it. My parents are anti horror, which I discovered when I asked about several horror franchises: Five Nights at Freddy's, Poppy Playtime, Bendy and the Ink Machine, the list goes on. When I saw the game was released, I asked my dad if I could play it. And to my surprise, he said yes. So I rushed to install the game and play it. The fact that Choo-Choo Charles is the first horror game I ever played is fitting because the first TV show that I ever watched was Thomas the Tank Engine. I really liked that show, and now the first horror game I ever played was basically an evil spider version of Thomas, which I think is what the developer was going for. On that note, the game opens with a character named Eugene calling his old friend, the player, who is a renowned monster hunter, and asks him to accompany Eugene back to the island of Araneum, where Eugene supervises a mining operation. The player agrees, and we are then transported to Araneum, where Eugene tells us about an old mining train that we could use to get around the island. After finding the key to the train station and a short tutorial where we learn about the train and its uses, we crash out of the station only to be immediately attacked by Charles. Charles kills Eugene, but retreats after we shoot him enough. With his dying breath, Eugene tells us to find his son and the eggs, then does not elaborate. I mean, to be fair, he was just impaled through the stomach by an evil spider train thing. After this, the game begins in earnest as we search the island for weapons, upgrades, and the eggs that Eugene mentioned, which we find in mines protected by armed guards wearing masks that look like Charles's face. Throughout the game, notes are scattered that tell us about Warren Charles III, who's a rich businessman that owns the mining operation on the island. We learn that the eggs can be destroyed at a temple at the center of the island, which will make Charles mad enough to commit to a duel to the death with the player. However, we are also warned that Charles can absorb the energy that is released when the eggs are destroyed and become much stronger. After placing bombs onto the supports of the bridge with all three eggs in hand, we climb the temple and insert the first two. But Warren and his goons arrive before we can insert the final egg, and tell us that we'll hurt far too many people if we continue. Naturally, being the stubborn protagonist that we are, we slam the final egg into the shrine. Charles shows up, absorbs the power of the eggs, eats Warren, and the final battle begins. The final battle is essentially the same as all the other battles with Charles throughout the game, with a few differences. Charles is much faster and more aggressive, meaning that if your train is not upgraded very much, then it will not end very well for you. Secondly, Charles gains the ability to teleport after taking enough damage. This means that any distance you can put between you and Charles can be destroyed in an instant. It really keeps you on your toes. After we do enough damage to Charles, a cutscene plays where he crosses the bombed bridge. Eugene's son triggers the explosives, and Charles is thrown into the air and falls onto a large spike under the bridge. Choo-Choo Charles is a fun and impressive game. It was made in a year and a half by a single person, which is crazy. A lot of people think that the game is too short to cost $20, and I disagree. $20 for 3 hours of gameplay with a fun enemy that you can play over and over again is great. It's fine for a game like this, and honestly, I don't regret buying this game at all. I'm excited to see the potential sequel that the developer's been talking about. And after all the fun I've had with this game, I fully intend to look into some of his other projects. But until then, thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.